Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to the space between ideas. It's not 10 o'clock in Tbilisi. My camera, yeah, I'll probably camera in a minute. Right now, I just want to kind of go through this thing here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I just want to start with the listening. So let's see if we can actually see the screen and if we can hear it. That would be cool.
Now, I will simulate the kind of
So,
feedback these questions would elicit from the architect, AI, based on its defined role and personas.
all right. So the thing is, what we were talking about is, it's so first of all, remember we're taking an AI first approach. So what that means is that like when you have a team, remember the old discussion about AI agents, and you're gonna have like an AI bunch of AI agents around a table, and they're gonna like be on your team. Well, if you're experienced and you know the different roles that you want on your team, then you can collaborate, you can calibrate a bunch of different AIs to be within your boardroom table or within your team table when you're having a meeting. But like if you're not really sure, then you can also use AI to help you to define roles. Now, and that's what I did in this case. So you can see that I have a constant like architect and liaison role. Right now you can see I'm using the liaison, which is going to be curious to see if uh because they're going to have a conversation. Architects AI simulated feedback incorporate into its personas. As a liaison AI would have received the strategic from PM. These are precisely okay. I don't know. All right. So, anyways, from the architect has has some entity personas. For example, the architect is also the chief systems architect, the technology strategist, the technical risk assessor, and the innovative lead. And then we got liaison here, which is provides what technical, tactical, and process leaderships. And then specifically here, it's the one who facilitates the VOTSBC um, module facilitators. So this is based on the app that I'm building. That's based off of Tom's book from his book Create Crucial Insight. All rights reserved. And he's also a strategic analyst, planning documenter, conceptual prompt engineer. Now, basically, we got to this point here. So we got three big questions. One, it's about speed and immediate use. How fast can you get started creating and using simple interactive mini lessons for your immediate needs? So yeah, like I do have immediate needs for like learning processes to improve my learning about some specific topics. For example, I just finished my French. I had a French lesson just now, and we're just practicing reading. But anyways, like I need to practice. I need to go through my. So I'm doing like a 90-day challenge in French right now, and I'm on day 76 of the 90-day challenge. Once I finish this challenge, then I'll have a little bit more leeway about like, okay, what am I going to do next with my French learning? Mostly with my tutor, we do a lot of reading, read and repeat. Uh, but I also need to have I need to be able to do exercises. And so right away, okay, this includes being able to share a link with these experiences. Okay, so like imagine I design an experience and then I send it to a student or somebody that I'm coaching. So like because I do have like basically like a text format that I help facilitate when I'm working with students. And then I also made videos. So I have like an online course that I also send to my students so they can watch the videos before the lessons. That way they can like get prepared. And then when I work with them, then I'm doing like an interactive process to test their knowledge and to teach and to get them to think. So the main focus is how do I get them to think? And then, well, can AI replace the experience that I'm providing for these students? And that's really the question: is can I create an experience which can facilitate a learning environment for students so that they'll have more success when they are interacting with me and interacting with other people based on having acquired a certain amount of skill and knowledge. We could go deeper into religion based on this idea. So, like, because just now with my French tutor, we're reading a religious text, and there's we were reading about this concept. So the concept is like, okay, so it was talking about a certain human who also is claiming to be like Robo God. So RoboCop was half robot, half cop. No, half robot, half man, all cop. And so, what's Jesus? Jesus is like half man, half God, all savior. I don't know. Maybe it's not exactly the same thing. Anyways, it was talking about how Jesus is both the Father and the Son. In the Catholic religion, they actually say that Jesus is the same physical being as God the Father and the Holy Ghost. So they have this three in one methodology where they want to incorporate in what's the word to make flesh corporeal. They want to say that it's just one in being. Now, in the book that I'm reading, it's not it's saying that the Father is more of a like a title, which makes it difficult to understand from a perspective of language, because usually we think of father as the person who gives birth to somebody. And in this religious text, it has a broader context, because it's saying that like father is somebody who has attained a certain level of power and knowledge and therefore responsibility. Another thing, I was listening somebody I ran into the Founders podcast yesterday for the first time, and I thought, this could be interesting, because the guy basically he reads like people's biographies, and then he talks about the what are the biographies trying to explain. And one of the key insights that came from that little experience was that envy is the problem in the world. Envy is like the sin of all sins. And yeah, because envy, it's like there's this idea of what a seed. So when you have a seed, what happens is that the seed is going to grow into a tree. And when we think of the concept of a seed going into a tree, then we're thinking about like what does it take for somebody to fulfill the measure of its existence? And so then the question is like, who are you? What are you meant to do? And some religions, what they do is they say that there was like some grand meeting, uh, big thing that happened before the world was created. And then in that meeting, everyone was handed it like an assignment. So it's like, okay, so you're this bot and you're that bot, and everybody has a role that they need to play while they're on the earth. Then we get here, and then we gotta do what it takes to become the person who can do the thing, which is the role that we're supposed to play. And then like, so if you're envious, like if you're looking at other people's roles and you're upset because, okay, so how come Jesus gets to be God and I don't get to be God? And so it goes back to this concept of like, what's the devil? And I guess the devil is the person who wanted to be like God. So anyways, and then in the text that we were reading, it goes on and starts saying, well, who is the seed of Jesus Christ? It says, well, anyone who accepts that he's saved us from our sins, then we're the seed, his seed. Well, if we're using the word seed, then what we're talking about a relationship, a familial relationship. We're talking about posterity. And then if we're going on to say that we are the sons and daughters of Christ, just as Christ is the Son of the Father. And then if we say that the Christ is both the Father and the Son, meaning that he's the Father because he has the power and the responsibility and the authority, and the Son because of the flesh, and therefore we are also sons and daughters, then we are also sons and daughters because of the flesh. And so then there's two different ways. One is the flesh because we sin, and then one is the flesh because of our physical bodies. So it draws these comparisons of relationships, and it leads to giving to enabling a person to believe that maybe we also can become like the Father. So if we can also gain in power and authority, then can we also gain in responsibility? Meaning, is it will we be able to have the same responsibility to create, just as the great creator, creator Anyways, so those are some pretty big questions, and we were just practicing reading. And then the question is like, well, is there some exercise that I could do before or after this reading practice to improve in my French language? And then the other is like, what are the different roles and responsibilities when it comes to achieving the objectives that we're pursuing? In this case, I have this set of personas that I'm bringing into my experience, because I hope that these are the different roles and responsibilities with the right amount of knowledge and authority in order to help to do what. So number one is like to actually provide these learning experiences. Now, if we take it from another perspective, because other people are going to be creating other types of blogs, like other people might be creating like games, and other people might be creating art, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be using AI. Like so, like let's say I open up their blog, can I play with their game without entering my API keys? Or if somebody's like creating art with AI, then it's like, well, I don't really need to plug in my API keys to enjoy reading about their art and to read about their process for creating things with AI. So, like, what's the underground theme behind this challenge to create an AI first blog? Is it just to create AI first blog articles, or is it to create an AI first blog platform? I'm starting to get confused about what this challenge is really about. Anyways, it's clear that not all blogs are going to require AI keys from the user, which brings us to question number two. So, how will the platform enable both you as the creator and your users with AI, specifically regarding the use of API keys or a platform-based credit system for AI interactions? But certainly, the person who is writing the blog is going to be able to either plug in their API keys. So this is a platform based. So if we're talking about platform, like okay, so like you have an IDE like Windsurf or Cursor, and then you open those up, and then you can see that you have the choice to use whichever AI, whichever AI LLM in the background that you want. You can just pick which one you want to be running in the background. So then, okay, so now you have a platform, and then you're using this platform, and then you can plug in your keys. But then the question is, well, why am I using your platform to create something when I could just open up my Google Gemini and I can create it within Gemini, or I can create it within ChatGPT? So what's so special about your platform? And why do I need to plug in my keys? Why am I creating in your sandbox when I can just create in my own sandbox? Right? So we still have these two issues, which is like, what is the benefit that I'm getting from your sandbox compared to creating in my Gemini window? And then the second issue is like, okay, now the user, is it not all of the blog articles are going to require AI keys from the user's perspective? And so, like, okay, but then what if you are able to interact with the blog article, then how do you interact with it? And then, so you plug in your keys, and then now I'm interacting with your blog article. So, what does that look like? What does that mean? Then Q3. So question number three is build versus augment. Is a brand new platform infrastructure necessary if AI can generate HTML for existing platforms like WordPress, especially considering the AI interaction model from question two? Exactly.
And how my own liaison AI personas would process them. Simulated feedback from team members. 1. Architect AI S simulated feedback, incorporating its personas. As liaison AI, I would receive this strategic perspective from the architect AI, likely via you, the user PM. These are precisely the right strategic questions to be asking at this juncture. Technology strategist and innovation lead perspective. The desire for speed to a usable mini lesson. Q1. For your personal use cases. Agenda 47, French, strongly validates our user of one first MVP approach. This gives us clear, tangible targets. The API key credit model, Q2, is the most compelling technical differentiator against simply using WordPress, Q3. If AFB platform can natively, securely, and easily manage live AI interactions powered by user-specific credentials or platform credits, it offers a significant advantage over embedding static or complex to manage HTML in a generic CMS. This should be a central pillar of our technical strategy for the interactive AI code blocks. Chief System Architect perspective. Supporting user-provided API keys or a platform credit system has significant architectural implications. To ensure robust security, clear UX for managing these, and a backend capable of mediating these calls. For Q1, the shareable link aspect implies some level of deployment and access control, even for a simple MVP. We need to define what shareable means in the first iteration, e.g., unlisted link, simple password, or full user accounts if the student is external. Technical risk assessor perspective. The primary risks for Q2 and Q3 are security, if handling external API keys, and cost management, if using platform credits tied to our own LLM API usage. For Q1, the risk is overcomplicating the first mini lesson prototype. We must define the absolute simplest version that still tests the core interactive AI idea. The build versus augment, Q3, decision hinges on whether the required level of AI, integration, security, and UX for the API model can be reasonably achieved by augmenting WordPress, or if a dedicated infrastructure offers a more robust and maintainable long-term solution. My current assessment leans towards a dedicated infrastructure being more suitable for the envisioned deep AI integration, but Sprint Zero research must validate this. 2. Liaison AI's internal processing and persona contributions. My role. This is how my internal personas would process your questions and the architect's feedback to prepare for the VOTSBC modules. Process Facilitator, VOTSBC. My immediate task is to take your concrete scenarios, Agenda 47, French exercises, and the architect's strategic emphasis and channel them directly into our VOTSBC brainstorm. The goal is to rapidly define what the simplest, most valuable interactive unit looks like for you. The questions about how fast and the API model will be central to this. Strategic Analyst. The WordPress Plus AI HTML versus AFB platform with native AI interaction is now the key strategic comparison. The API key credit model is the strongest candidate for AF platform's unique value proposition, UVP. My analysis during Sprint Zero research for Objectives 1.2, Interactive AI, Code Blocks Feasibility, and 1.6, Tech Stack, must focus on validating this UVP. I need to research how technically challenging it would be to achieve the desired AI, interactivity and credential management on WordPress versus a custom build. Planning Documenter. All these nuances, your specific use cases, the API key, credit model questions, the WordPress benchmark, and the architect's feedback, must be clearly documented as inputs and outputs of our Sprint Zero activities. This ensures clarity for the link to afplatform_MVP_detailed_plan_sprint_1_start.md. Conceptual Prompt Engineer. How can vibe coding specifically make it easier for the user PM to create these types of interactive mini lessons that are wired up for potential API key credit-based AI calls? The prompts for vibe coding should abstract away the complexity of setting up these AI interactions. VOTSBC module application, simulated conceptual exercise. Now, using the feedback above, I will conceptually go through the brainstorm and choose modules. For the brainstorm module, I will use the MGA structure, from link to module_specs.md, as an example of categories, but the content will be specific to your AFB platform needs. A. Conceptual brainstorm module for simplest interactive mini lesson. Focus. Defining the simplest, most valuable interactive mini lesson for your Agenda 47 analysis, considering speed, shareability, and the AI interaction model. 1. Imitate trends, learning from others and existing patterns. User PM need. Quickly create and share an explainer for Agenda 47. Architect feedback. Focus on differentiators, API key, credit. Brainstormed ideas. Many platforms allow embedding. YouTube, Typeform. Some educational tools have simple quiz functions. Jupyter notebooks allow code execution but are developer-centric. Could a simple Q&A format where the AI answers questions about uploaded Agenda 47 text be a start? The AI interaction could be the AI using a specific persona knowledge base. 2. Ideate. Novel, outside the box. Ideas for this specific problem. User PM need. Interactive experience for a student. Architect feedback. Simplest viable mechanism for MVP. Brainstormed ideas. A guided reading experience. User PM uploads Agenda 47 text. Platform chunks it. After each chunk, a predefined question or an AI-generated question appears. Student answers. AI gives feedback, powered by User PM's key or platform credit. Policy Explorer. User PM defines key policies from Agenda 47. Student can click a policy, and an AI, again, credentialed, provides a summary, lists objectives, or answers clarifying questions based only on the provided material. Vibe code. A key point extractor and quizzer. User PM vibes. Summarize these 3 key points from this section of Agenda 47 and ask me a question about each. 3. Ignore, anti-patterns, things to avoid for this first experiment. User PM need, speed, simplicity. Architect feedback, avoid overcomplicating the first prototype. Brainstormed ideas, avoid requiring student login for the very first shareable link if possible. Focus on unlisted link. Avoid complex visual theming beyond basic readability for the first test. Avoid trying to support all LLMs or both API key input and platform credits simultaneously in the very first experiment. Pick one model for the AI interaction. Avoid building a full content editor. Assume content, like Agenda 47 text, is pasted in or uploaded simply. 4. Integrate, speed up processes, connect ideas, improve execution for this mini lesson. User PM need, link to send to student. Architect feedback, modularity for future. Brainstormed ideas. How can vibe coding directly output a shareable, interactive page or block with the AI interaction pre-configured? Integrate the LLM call directly into the block's logic, using a secure backend proxy for the API key. If it's the user PM's key powering it for the student, ensure the simplest possible workflow. Paste text to vibe code, define interaction points to get shareable link. 5. Interfere, reframe as, differentiate. How to make this uniquely valuable over WordPress plus HTML. User PM need, a better way than current tools. Architect feedback, API key, credit model is the differentiator. Brainstormed ideas, the unique value is the live, managed AI interaction. WordPress would struggle with securely and easily allowing a student to interact with an AI that's, for instance, using the user PM's API key contextually for that specific lesson material. AFB platform provides the integrated environment where the AI is not just generating static content but is a live participant in the student's interaction with managed credentials. Vibe coding makes creating this type of AI integrated interactive unit much faster than handcrafting HTML, JS, and backend calls. B. Conceptual choose module for the first micro experiment. Goal. Decide on the focus for the very first, simplest technical proof of concept experiment in Sprint 0 to address how fast can I get started. 1. What scenarios are being considered? List options from Brainstorm. Scenario 1. A simple, guided reading Q&A for an excerpt of Agenda 47. User PM provides text. AI asks questions, provides feedback on student answers. AI interaction powered by a single, preset, user PM's API key via a secure backend. Scenario 2. An interactive French vocabulary, grammar quiz. User PM defines questions, answers. AI provides feedback or hints. Similar AI interaction model to Scenario 1. Scenario 3. A generic AI Q&A block, where user PM can input a block of text, and the block allows students to ask questions about that text, answered by an AI. 2. What are the similarities and differences between scenarios? Compare. All involve text input by user PM, AI, interaction for the student, and a shareable link. Agenda 47, S1, is content-specific, potentially easier to scope the AI's knowledge base. French quiz, S2, might require more structured input from user PM for questions. Generic Q&A, S3, is more flexible but might be harder to control the AI's responses for a first test. 3. How do you decide on what aspects of the scenarios are more or less important to consider? Define criteria. Speed to user PM value. How quickly can you create and share this? Clarity of AI interaction. Is the AI's role well defined and testable? Test's core differentiator. Does it help us explore the managed AI interaction model? Simplicity for first POC. Is it the absolute minimum to learn? Direct relevance to user PM's immediate expressed need. Agenda 47 was a top-of-mind example. 4. Evaluate the differences based on those important aspects. Apply criteria. Scenario 1. Agenda 47 guided Q&A. High on speed to value, you have content. Clear AI role, Q&A on specific text. Test's core differentiator can be made very simple. High relevance. Scenario 2. French quiz, also good, but might require more setup from you for quiz content unless vibe coding can generate it effectively from a simple prompt. Scenario 3. Generic Q&A block, most flexible long-term, but potentially harder to make simple and valuable for the very first POC. AI might go off topic more easily. 5. Make statements that support your decision. Justify choice. Choice for first micro experiment. Scenario 1. The Agenda 47 guided reading Q&A. Justification. It directly addresses your immediate need for the Agenda 47 analysis. The scope of the AI's knowledge can be tightly controlled. The provided text. It provides a clear, simple interactive model. Read chunk, answer question, get AI feedback. It allows us to focus Sprint Zero feasibility research on the core challenge, creating a shareable interactive block with a managed AI call, which tests our main differentiator against WordPress. It's the most direct path to answering, how fast can I get started with something useful? Advice for how we should move forward, 3 to 4 pieces. Based on this simulated team processing and VOT SBC exercise. 1. Prioritize a guided Agenda 47 Q&A micro experiment. Focus the initial technical feasibility studies and prototyping efforts within Sprint Zero. Objectives 1.2, 1.3, 1.5, 1.6, on building the absolute simplest, shareable version of an interactive, guided reading Q&A, for a small piece of the Agenda 47 text. This will provide the most immediate answer to your, how fast can I get started? Question and test core assumptions. 2. Deep dive on a single, secure AI interaction model for this experiment. For this first micro experiment, choose one model for powering the AI interaction, e.g., using your user PM's API key, securely handled via a backend proxy, with the student interaction not requiring their own key. The Sprint Zero feasibility study, Objective 1.2, must detail the security and technical plan for this chosen model. This directly addresses the core differentiator over WordPress. 3. Scope, vibe coding, MVP to create this first experiment. Define the minimum vibe coding functionality, Objective 1.3, needed to help you, user PM, easily set up this guided Agenda 47 Q&A block, e.g., a way to input the source text, define points for questions, or have AI suggest them, and specify the AI's role persona for feedback. 4. Document and validate this narrowed focus. As liaison AI, I will document this proposed narrowed focus for the first micro experiment. We need your confirmation as user PM, and then the architect AI's review to ensure this targeted approach for initial experimentation aligns with the overall Sprint Zero goals and technical strategy. This approach allows us to move quickly from discussion to a very focused, tangible experiment that addresses your core needs and helps us learn rapidly.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit confused because I'm looking at number three. It says scope vibe coding MVP to create the first experiment. Define the minimum vibe coding functionality needed to help you easily set up this guided agenda 47 Q&A block, a way to input the source text, define points for questions, and specify the AI's role persona for feedback. Um, yeah, so okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is that we need to do a test, and if we're going to do a test, then why not do a test with some piece of data that I'm actually working with? And so you decided on talking about how we can create some kind of blog post about Agenda 47, and then how can we make that blog post interactable, meaning that somebody would open the blog post and then they would start to read some information and they would be prompted to do something. So I can see what you're saying. Now, the first thing is that we're going to be using Google Gemini right now. We're going to be using this window. We could also open up a new window if we want to design a test. From the creator's perspective, I don't see a big difference between using the Google Gemini's window to create something or to use a sandbox, which is in a dedicated blog website to do this, specifically because this task is mostly text-based, and text-based generative AI is already quite well established within the current LLM system infrastructure. So from that perspective, then after we set up some kind of channel, once we register on the blog website, and then we create a channel, and then we open up the window to create our first blog post, and then inside of that blog post, let's say right now it looks exactly as what I'm looking at when I open up a AI instance in Google Gemini. Then what? Then I'm going to be communicating with the page, just like I'm communicating with you right now. Either I'm going to be talking or I'm going to be uploading text. Either way, either if I'm talking or if I'm copying and pasting or typing, in any of these instances, I'm going to be inputting information into Google Gemini. So the question is, what's the like how is Google Gemini now going to provide me with options and with help and with guidance for how we can make this piece of content interesting and interactive for the potential user who's going to be reading the content? And how is the AI helper going to provide instances of opportunities for the reader to be able to communicate and to interact with the content? So, for example, like let's say that I don't know anything about teaching, I don't know anything about learning. How is it that I'll be able to rely on the AI helper inside of the creator and of the blog post writing to experiment with processes of creation in order to give the user on the other side who's going to be reading the blog a better educational experience? And then what the all right, I'm just jumping onto another page. uh, well, anyways, let's how far did we get? What the? All right. Anyways, I guess it didn't quite. Anyways, let's see what it says, and then we can go from there. Maybe there are too many ideas at one time, so we should digest them a little bit.
Okay, I understand your line of thinking perfectly. You're essentially asking if the process of creating the content and logic for these mini lessons, like the Agenda 47 explainer, is largely a conversation with an AI to generate text, questions, and define an AI's role, then 1. What's the tangible difference or added value of a dedicated vibe coding interface within AFB platform for this creator experience, compared to just using a powerful existing LLM interface like this Google Gemini window we're using now? 2. And how does this relate to the speed of getting something testable, especially if the core interaction is text-based AI generation, which is already well established? These are excellent, practical questions that help us refine what vibe coding means for its very first, simplest application. Let me clarify the distinction and the intent for the initial micro experiment, e.g., the guided Agenda 47 Q&A block. Generic LLM chat, like this Google Gemini window, versus AF platforms, vibe coding, MVP for the experiment. Generic LLM chat, e.g., current interaction with me. You provide prompts, help me break down this Agenda 47 document, suggest some questions for a student about this section. What persona should an AI adopt to give feedback? I, as the LLM, provide text, suggestions, and ideas. You, the user PM, would then need to manually take these outputs and structure them into an interactive format. If you wanted this to be a web page or an interactive element within a blog post, you'd need to either code it yourself, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, backend calls for AI, feedback, or paste it into a CMS, and figure out how to make the AI feedback part live. The LLM here is a general-purpose assistant providing raw materials. AF platforms, vibe coding, for the guided Agenda 47 Q&A micro experiment. The idea isn't just to replicate a generic chat window within AFB platform. Instead, vibe coding for this initial experiment would be a purpose-built interface within AFB platform specifically designed to help you create and configure guided Agenda 47 Q&A interactive block. Input process. 1. You'd likely start by indicating you want to create a new interactive AI code block of the guided Q&A type. 2. You'd provide the source text, e.g., the Agenda 47 excerpt. 3. Then, through vibe coding, which could be a specialized chat-like interface within that block's creation editing view, you'd give instructions like, okay, for this text, divide it into 3 logical sections for guided reading. For the first section, help me draft a comprehension question a student should answer. The AI feedback for this question should act as a neutral political analyst and focus on factual accuracy. Use my main OpenAI API key for this interaction. The vibe coding engine's role, using an LLM in the background. It understands you're building a guided Q&A block. It uses an LLM to process your requests, e.g., sectioning text, drafting questions, defining AI persona for feedback. Crucially, it then automatically populates a predefined structure or template for that guided Q&A block. It's not just giving you raw text, it's taking the generated content and your instructions and inserting them into the correct fields and configuration parameters of that specific interactive component. The output, a fully configured, or near-configured, guided Agenda 47 Q&A block that is ready to be embedded in an AFB platform post. This block already has the structure for displaying text, taking student input, and making the AI call, as per the API key credit model we decide to test. Why is this different and potentially faster for your specific goal? 1. Abstraction and automation of structure. Vibe coding, even in a simple form, handles the assembly and structuring of the interactive component. You don't have to manually copy-paste text from a generic chat into an HTML template or figure out how to wire up the AI calls. The platform provides the block template, and vibe coding helps you fill it intelligently. 2. Context-aware interaction. The vibe coding interface within AFB platform knows you're building a specific type of interactive element for this platform. Its prompts and capabilities can be tailored to that, making it more efficient than a general-purpose chat. 3. Focus on the interactive unit, not just text generation. The end goal of the vibe coding process in this experiment is a functional interactive unit. A generic chat gives you text. Vibe coding aims to give you the configured component. How fast can we test this specific creator experience? The creator experience, part of the micro experiment for the Agenda 47 Q&A block is, can we design a simple vibe coding interaction within a conceptual AFB platform editor that allows you to 1. Input your Agenda 47 source text. 2. Specify, perhaps with AI assistance via vibe coding, the sections, questions, and AI feedback persona. 3. Have this information automatically populate a guided Q&A block template. 4. Configure this block to use the decided AI interaction model, e.g., your proxied API key. This is a key part of the Sprint Zero feasibility study. We're not building the full, polished AFB platform editor. We are asking, what would this minimal, vibe coding interface look like for this one task? Objective 1.5, UX, UI concepts. What's the technical plan to make an LLM populate a defined component template based on such an interaction? Objective 1.3, vibe coding MVP scope, and Objective 1.6, tech stack. Dual AI enablement. Creator side, vibe coding, as described above, plus the platform's tools for managing your blocks, posts. User side, student, the interactive AI code block itself, which they interact with, powered by the defined AI model, API key, credit. The test is to see if this dedicated approach within AFB platform offers a significant enough improvement in speed, ease of use, and capability for creating these specific AI-powered interactive units compared to you manually using a generic LLM chat and then embedding the interactivity elsewhere. Sprint Zero will help us define the simplest version of this vibe coding for the Agenda 47 experiment to test this assumption.
All right. So now from the user perspective, I mean from the audience perspective, imagine that I'm opening up this website which has a bunch of blogs, and I know which blog that I want to read. I want to read about the blog which is going to help me to go through the policies that are outlined in Agenda 47. And I know that I'm new at learning this, so I want to read the policies that are defined from the very first speech that was given of the around 40 speeches that are defined as the policies that are in the Agenda 47. And so I go and I want to learn from the first video, and I know that there's this blog article. My friend sent me the blog article, and I jump into the blog article. I start reading, and then, okay, so I can see that there's a section that I'm reading, and then now it says that I'm supposed to type in this text box, and then after I type in the text box, then part of the screen is the reply from the AI. All right, so a lot of us were already kind of familiar with the way that Cursor and Windsurf look like. These are IDEs, and these IDEs have a text box on the right-hand side of the screen where I can input text and I can read the reply from the AI, and then it then will create files, and it will show the files and the terminal on the left side of the screen. So imagine that me as a user, I open up this blog article and I can see that there is the text of the blog article on the left-hand side, and then I can see that there's the chat box and the replies from the AI on the right-hand side of the screen. And so as I'm reading the blog article, then it has some questions, and then it says that I should reply to the first question, and I should type or speak my response in the window on the right. So then I start talking to that AI chatbot on the right, and then I can have a conversation until the chatbot on the right will tell me that I have a good enough understanding of the ideas and principles and that we should move on. And maybe there's also some feature that the chatbot on the right have will be able to ask me questions like, do you want to discuss other topics further, or is that enough information for now and you should continue with your reading of the blog article? So this is one format for being able to read blog articles, which combines what I can see now, which is I can see the text that you're providing, and then I'm inputting my own text. So we're having a conversation, but we're not having a conversation about a predefined topic. So basically, the window that I'm looking at now and that I'm communicating with you now could be made more narrow. When I'm reading that text, then we could communicate about that. Okay, so that's from the perspective of the person who's creating this blog. Then the question is, how did they create that blog post? That blog post is basically designed with some text and also with an AI chatbot. And this would be a good setup for this type of blog post, perhaps. I mean, it's one idea, but then what happens if somebody wanted to create a game? Or what if somebody just wanted to share images, or they wanted to talk about something that they created with AI? That it's going to be an interaction which is different than the interaction that we're talking about now. And then now, if we go from the perspective of the creator, the question is, okay, well, I was just able to come up with a potential way of expressing some ideas. And I talked about the design of what the page would look like. And so we have two problems. The one problem is, how did I come up with that idea? So does the sandbox itself help the creator to create something? Just like I was able to come up with those ideas from my own brain. But then is the AI sandbox going to be able to help me and come up with better ideas, maybe suggest some things? And then number two is about vibe coding. So how is it that the vibe coding element will be able to take all of these ideas which we've created, and perhaps we've created them together in some kind of creative process with me and the AI in the sandbox, and then how is it going to turn that into the vibe coding element, where we're actually going to turn that into the blog post, and then we're going to deploy that blog post? Gordon. Shh. Go ahead. Wrong. What? What? Hmm? You want to say hello to everyone, Gordon D. Gord? All right, say hello, Gordon.
Hello everyone. Hello buddies. Hello world.
Oh, Gordon Gord. Okay, we got to get this thing working. Something definitely went wrong. Okay. This is a fantastic and very concrete, that sounds more South African, concrete vision of how the interactive learning experience on the platform could work, both for the reader's perspective and raising the key questions from your perspective. You've described a compelling use case for the two-pane layout of the Gender 47. Reader experience, left pane with the policy text, right pane with the context-aware AI chatbot. The blog context guides the reader to interact with the chatbot, which then helps them to understand the material, answer questions, and perhaps even gatekeeps progression until a certain level of understanding is demonstrated. This is very much in line with the interactive IA blocks. Gordon, stop it. Okay. Creator experience questions, idea generation, design support. How does the platform sandbox help you, the creator, come up with or refine these interactive designs? Can the AI assist when suggesting interaction types or layouts, vibe coding to implementation? How does the vibe coding take your description of this desired layout and interaction, turn it into the deployment blog post? Let's break down the platform, especially the vibe coding aims to address this. The two-pane layout. It's clear, understandable, interactive pattern. It direct supports your needs to create this. How did you come up with the idea? Your own creation is key, just as you've done now. Your user PM will often have a clear idea of what kind of interaction you want. As AI as a creative partner, for MVP, we might start with you defining the interactive type. However, it's important, interesting prospect for the sandbox. The vibe coding engine also acts as a creative partner. For instance, you platform could suggest this looks like policy document. Would you like to create a guided Q&A block and policy comparison block for it? This AI assisted interaction design is more advanced feature, but very compelling direction that aligns with the AI first nature. The Sprint Zero, we can note this is a desirable future capability while focusing on MVP on implementing one. You describe how does vibe coding turn your idea into a deployed blog post. This is core vibe coding. Imagine you're creating a new post interactive section. You might say to the vibe coding interface, I want to create an interactive explainer for this agenda text. Use a two-pane layout. Put the source text on the left. On the right, I need an AI chat assistant that will discuss the left pane content. Its persona should be natural political analyst. When the reader gets to point X in the text, prompt them to ask the AI about specific concept. The AI chat should use my primary OpenAI key. The vibe coding engine, AI powered, then recognizes that you want two-pane context chat block, takes your source text, configures the AI chat pane, sets up integration trigger, links to specific AI service, handles the underlying output. You get this chat block. So vibe coding handles different interaction types, games, images. You're absolutely right. Two-pane chat is just one possible interaction. The platform is envisioned to eventually support libraries of different interactive AI code blocks, types, generative image gallery block, interactive timeline block, a simple game logic block. For the MVP and our micro experiments, we will focus on designing and testing feasibility of one such block type. Vibe coding would then consist next steps, detail the description. I will document the two-pane contextual chat concept. And we will use a specific example to further explore. Okay, so I got a couple of things. One thing is I noticed inside of the WordPress blog that they have a section which outlines all of the different types of blocks that you can add inside of the blog. So when you're writing, then you can click one of these things and it adds it to the page. Now, is that going to be the same concept. So basically, the AI is going to have access to the full list of elements that can be added to a page. So perhaps right now you could even do the research and just have in your database an understanding of every single element that you could add to a WordPress blog when you're writing it. And then that would give us quite a wide variety of block ideas and elements to have in our library of data. And then we might notice that within that list of elements, there isn't currently a block to add a AI window pane to a blog post. And then the next question is, are there any blog platforms right now that have an AI window pane next to the blog articles? The core idea of making the platform content interactive and AI powered revolves around the concept very similar to the WordPress block editor. Library of blocks. We envision platform having a library of blocks. This would include standard content blocks you'd expect, specialization blocks. The key differentiator, as we've been discussing, would be a suite of specialized blocks designed for AI interaction. The two-pane contextual chat block you described from Agenda 47 content is a perfect example of what might be one of the first custom blocks in this library. Vibe coding would then be AI assisted way to add and configure these blocks instead of manually selecting a block. Okay. Um, Researching, learning from context away AI chat ping specifically to potential. Are there any blog platforms with the AI window pane? Generally, AI chatbot or websites are common. Many tools and plugins exist to add AI chatbots to websites, including WordPress site. There are often general purpose custom support engagement bots, sometimes embeddable. AI content creation in WordPress is growing. Tools exist to help generate blog posts, SEO content, and others within the WordPress editing experience. Integrated AI interactive content blocks. So when I read your content, it seems like perhaps all of the ideas that we've expressed in our first little experiment could be handled with WordPress, and that there's a way that we could add AI in the process of creating the blog post and that some AI elements could be added to the actual creative space when I'm creating the blog in WordPress, and that it would be possible that when I released or launched that post, published that post, then there would be the elements that I've defined already available in that blog post. So it sounds like I could actually create this entire blog and go through the entire process of creation with infrastructure that's currently available on the web. Man, something keeps going wrong a lot these days. All right, okay, you can't read that, so I'll just read it myself. Okay, you've raised a very sharp, important point based on our discussion capabilities of modern platforms like WordPress. Perfectly valid question. Let's break it down. What WordPress AI plugins can do, likely do, AI assisted content creation. As you noted, and as my research confirms, there are many WordPress plugins that can interact AI to help you generate blog post text, summarize content, suggest titles right within the WordPress editor. So for the creator side, in terms of drafting the base text, AI assistance is definitely available. Embedding basic AI chatbots is a plugin that allow you to embed AI chatbots, often general purpose ones, on your WordPress site. Some of these allow configuration of AI providers to use this, that adding custom HTML blocks. WordPress block editor is flexible and allows you to add custom HTML blocks. So if an external tool generated self-contained interactive snippet could potentially embed it, where the difference might lie. You're right. It sounds like many pieces are available. The critical question Sprint Zero needs to help us answer is whether existing tools can deliver the specific type, depth, and integration, ease of creation, nuance, AI interaction model you envisioned with your personalized learning creation tool, or if there's critical gaps that would justify building a new platform. Consider these aspects in your guided agenda. Ease of creation. While you can get AI to generate text in WordPress, how easily could you then, using existing WordPress tools, create that specific two-pane layout where the left pane has your curated text, the right pane has an AI chatbot that specifically and deeply contextualizes for the content. The main context in the left pane has clear prompts or triggers that seamlessly guide the reader to interact with the AI at the right pane at specific points. Vibe coding. The ideas that you've described the desired structure and interaction the platform helps assemble and configure these special specialized interactive AI coding blog, not just give you raw text to manually arrange. AI interaction model. This is potentially significant differentiator. Is the entire creation environment in WordPress fundamentally designed to help you build these AI-powered interaction units as a primary content type, or is it more of a add-on vibe coding aimed to make AI an integral part of constructing the interactive experience itself? Is the reader interaction with the AI a seamless, deeply integrated part of the content flow, or does it feel like more generic embedded widget? So where does this leave us for Sprint Zero? Now, let's say that let's talk about the money. Um, where does it leave us? Clearly define your ideal mini lesson. Evaluating existing tools, that specific vision. Identify the gap. All right, so let's have a little talk about the money. Let's imagine that we have some group of bloggers, and these bloggers already have an account with OpenAI or with Gemini Advanced or with Claude or some other AI system. Now, some of these AI bots, they are free and they can provide a certain amount of information for free. And so if a person is a blogger, then they likely already have some access to generative AI subscription, or they're using the free version. And then they copy and paste the text into WordPress, and then they click publish. It also sounds like there are ways for WordPress to add a chat bot onto the blog post itself so that people can chat with the blog. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not true. Then the question is, like, why would somebody who is going to be joining this website, this new platform, why would they suddenly want to pay for an additional subscription when they already have a subscription and all they need to do is copy and paste the text that they get from generative AI into the context window on the new platform? So, what is it about the sandbox that encourages people to buy a subscription so that they have access to the tools within that sandbox? And if they're using their own keys, then how does this platform itself make money if none of the blog posters are willing to purchase a subscription, and if they're just using their own API keys? Which means that the sandbox for creators, it has to be better and have access to more tools and more easily help a creator to actually carry out the process of creation. There's always going to be a group of people that are quite creative themselves and that they have their own ideas, and then they're going to know exactly what they want to do with the AI tool. But the majority of people are probably not going to be that creative, and what they're going to want is that the AI in the sandbox is going to help them to create stuff and to improve it and to make it better, to make it more interactive, and figure out how to make their content more attractive so that more people are willing to read and interact with their content. And then you have the people from the other side, people who are actually reading the blog and interacting with the blog. Are they going to want to spend money every time they interact with somebody's blog? And are they willing to buy a subscription so that they have credits? In that case, what we're saying is that it's almost like a little arcade. So you go into an arcade because you know that there's going to be a bunch of different games that you're going to enjoy. It means that the user experience feels like entertainment. So if we use the concept of this platform, the AI first platform, looking like an arcade, then people go in, they're going to read people's blog posts, and then if they want to interact with those posts, then they're going to need to buy credits. But then if they have an API key, then they don't need to buy credits. Now, if they don't need to buy credits, they use their API key. And if the creators, if they use their API keys also, then everybody's using LLM connections from outside the infrastructure. Then the question is, okay, now how does this website actually make money? Maybe it attracts a huge amount of creators and it also attracts a huge amount of users, but everybody has their own keys, and so nobody's actually paying to create or to uh, or to interact with the experiences. And this is similar to the current blog model. So for example, if we go to WordPress, it seems like I'm not paying WordPress in order to produce a blog, and nobody's paying to be able to read my blog. And the question is, how is it that WordPress is able to have a business model where they can allow everybody to do all of this work for free? Jeez. All right, Gemini, you guys have some problems. You brought up some absolutely critical questions about the business model and monetization strategy. There are some essential for long-term viability things to spot. Okay, many creators already have existing LLM subscriptions. If the creators and readers use their own API keys, what makes the sandbox compelling enough for creators to potentially pay for it? Will readers pay for interactions? How does platform like WordPress sustain itself? Value first, monetization later. De-risking core features. Finalize your MVP. Concluding technical feasibility studies. API keys. Technical feasibility. Address why would a creator pay if they have their own keys. Sandbox value proposition. Significantly faster, easier. Unique tools, blocks, seamless integration, AI assisted design, value beyond LLM access. Why would a reader pay for credits to interact with the arcade analogy? Value proposition for the reader, freemium model. If everyone uses their own keys, how does the platform make money? Subscription fees for creator premium features, marketplace. Okay. So this brings up this another question is that if WordPress is their business model is that people on WordPress are going to start by learning to create a blog, and then eventually they're going to try to figure out how they can turn their blog into a website, and then perhaps that they register a domain name, and then they use maybe some premium themes and plugins, and then they have some e-commerce features, and then they start using advertising. So then it's a whole infrastructure is for the purpose of helping people to learn how to blog. and then helping people to learn how to get a deeper understanding into all the different uh, features and plugins and ecosystem for how to create a revenue generating machine. So then we go back to the original question, which is, are we creating a platform so that people can be noticed just for the sake of being noticed? Or is it a machine that helps people to learn how to do things and gain skills and then get access to other things like paid hosting plans, domain names, premium plugins, e-commerce features? So is it better to think of this new platform as a WordPress competitor, and that there are going to be some features which help somebody to experience the creation process with the help of generative AI? And then an additional point would be that the blog articles themselves are more interactive. I think we're starting to slow down. It's been a good hour and 15 minutes, and our audio thing stopped working. So I don't know. Yeah, so I feel like today I probably got most of the thoughts out that I wanted to talk about. Now, I think what we probably ought to do is we've had quite a bit of thinking, and so we need to update our documentation. Otherwise, there's a possibility we could lose this data.
You're drawing a very insightful parallel with the WordPress ecosystem and posing a fundamental question about the ultimate purpose and positioning of AFB platform. Is it about ephemeral, being noticed, or is it a machine that helps people to learn how to do things and gain skills, potentially evolving into an ecosystem like WordPress that supports users from initial creation to sophisticated, even revenue-generating, websites? Let's break this down based on our current trajectory for AFB platform. 1. AF platform's current focus, user PM as customer 0. As we've clarified in link to AF platform _08 user perspective and sprint 0 brainstorm focus.md, the immediate primary focus of AFB platform is to serve as a powerful AI first tool for your own personal and professional development. In this context, it absolutely aligns with being a machine that helps people, specifically you, the user PM, to learn how to do things and gain skills. You want to use it to deepen your understanding of Canadian politics, economics, practice languages, and better manage, showcase your software development projects, like MGA. The interactive AI code blocks are envisioned as tools to create rich learning experiences for yourself and for those you coach or share with. Vibe coding is intended to make the creation of these valuable, skill-enhancing, knowledge-building interactive units easier for you. So, in its initial conception for Sprint 0 and the first MVP, AFB platform is very much about skill augmentation and effective knowledge transfer for you. The being noticed aspect here is more about the impact and utility of the specific interactive content you create and share, e.g., a student finding your Agenda 47 explainer highly effective. 2. Is AFB platform a WordPress competitor? This is a great strategic question to keep in mind for the longer term. WordPress's trajectory. You're right. WordPress, especially linked to WordPress.com, but also the link to .org ecosystem, provides a pathway for users to start with a simple blog and then, as their needs and skills grow, evolve it into a full-fledged website with custom domains, themes, advanced plugins, like e-commerce, membership, and various monetization strategies. It's an entire ecosystem that supports a wide range of users, from hobbyists to large businesses. AF platform's potential differentiation. If AFB platform were to evolve to serve a broader audience beyond your initial personal use, it wouldn't likely compete with WordPress on all fronts. Instead, it would need to offer a distinct and compelling value proposition. Based on our discussions, this differentiation would come from 1. AI, first creation process, vibe coding, and other AI native tools would be central to how all content, especially complex interactive elements, is created. This could make the process more intuitive, faster, or enable creators to build things they couldn't easily build on other platforms. 2. Natively interactive content. The core offering would be the ability to easily create and deploy these interactive AI code blocks, making blog articles, or learning units, explainer units, etc., inherently more dynamic, engaging, and educational than standard text and image posts. The API key credit model for powering these AI interactions is also a key part of this. So, is it a direct competitor? Potentially, for a specific segment of users who want to create highly interactive, AI-powered content and learning experiences. It wouldn't aim to replace WordPress for every type of website, but it could offer a superior solution for its niche. 3. AFB platform, a tool for learning, skill building, and then perhaps more. Your description of WordPress as a revenue-generating machine for some users through e-commerce, ads, etc., is accurate for a segment of its user base. For AF platform's initial phase, your personal use, the revenue is your increased learning, efficiency, and ability to create valuable educational tools for your coaching. The skills gained are your mastery over the topics you're studying and your ability to leverage AI for these tasks. For a potential future, broader AFB platform, if other creators were to use it, the platform could indeed help them learn how to do things, e.g., how to create effective interactive AI tutorials, how to design AI powered learning games, and gain skills in AI interaction design, prompt engineering for educational content. Whether it would directly offer the same breadth of revenue-generating machine features as WordPress, like full e-commerce, is a very long-term question. Its initial monetization, if it reached that stage, might be more focused on access to the advanced AI creation tools and interactive block capabilities. What this means for Sprint Zero. We continue with the primary goal of building something incredibly useful for you and your immediate scenarios. Agenda 47, French, MGA showcasing. The question, is this significantly better, easier for me than using WordPress plus AI, generated HTML plus existing plugins, remains our critical benchmark for every feature. The architect, AI, will continue to design the underlying system with an eye towards modularity and potential future scalability. So if AFB platform does prove exceptionally valuable and there's a desire to expand it, the foundation can support that. Essentially, yes, it's better to think of this new platform, especially in its current conception, as a specialized tool focused on leveraging generative AI to help you, and potentially others later, create uniquely interactive and educational content more effectively and intuitively than current general-purpose platforms might allow. It starts with augmenting your ability to learn, create, and share. Whether it evolves into a direct WordPress competitor with a similar ecosystem is a future strategic decision that will depend on the success and learnings from this initial, highly focused phase.
All right. Well, I think we've done enough work for today. I want you to go through all of the discussions that we've made today and to create an exhaustive discussion or reply that I can give to the architect so that the architect is caught up with all of the different main points and the details related to all the main points that we've come up with today. And we want to pose the question to the architect if either the architect or you should create a new document or to edit some of the previous documents so that if we were to lose all of our information that we have discussed today, since I last updated you with a calibration document, if we should create a new calibration document or update some of the older calibration documents so that we would not lose any of the data or the context or the discussion content that we have evolved through our conversations. The balancing act. Acting as the architect liaison. Thank you. This is exceptionally clear, insightful briefing. It perfectly captures the significant evolution in our discussion, the points to this and that. Regarding your question about how to do this, given the depth of the refinement and introduction of new core considerations, my recommendation is two-pronged approach. Create a new, concise calibration document. I suggest that we create the 09. Uh, these how these points further focus objectives with a rational new document allows us to capture these specific actionable insights clearly, cleanly, chronically. It provides focusing the latest update, calibrating on the project, minor pointer updates, existing sprint zero execution document. I would also recommend that the purpose section of 03 and 05 be briefly amended. This approach allows us to maintain integrity. Um, if the direction which we are now pursuing is the correct direction. Wait, why am I typing? If the direction that we're going based on the discussion from today is the correct direction, then it seems like we wouldn't necessarily need to create a new document, but we would need to edit previous documents. And or otherwise, if the direction that we're going in today is going to be changed, for example, tomorrow, then that would give a good reason for creating a new document, more of like a living document, which explains the current expression of what we're working on and trying to work toward. So, based on the feedback and content that you've seen, I want you to pose some questions to Liaison and help Liaison to answer the question of whether we should just amend previous documents or if we should create a new living document. Now we got a problem because actually, I have to be honest. Liaison is not currently our current liaison does not have. Our current liaison is actually working from our set of old documents. Although it has document number 8, it does not have the edited versions that we created from the earlier documentation. So I would like you to put on your liaison hat and answer your own questions and then provide a response as if you were liaison. After you've provided a response, then react to the response that you have created as liaison and provide me with some advice as architect. All right, so we got an issue because the architect, it doesn't have the same context as liaison does because we carried out the whole conversation over with liaison. But then that liaison, it doesn't have the same documentation calibration as architect. So that's the issue. This is the problem that once you create the documentation, you have to make sure that you're always using the most current version of the documentation, the calibration documentation with your AI instance. I just ran into this problem where it's like, okay, well, what about all that work that you did today? And it's not actually, liaison is not going to be able to Okay, thank you, architect. Here's this impact on this, clarity for this, documentation, this, recommendation, that, scope, switching back to architect. Okay, so I concur with Liaison's recommending. Yeah, no kidding. We create a new focus documentation like 9 in the most effective way, preserves stability of the other documents, captures, supports agility, maintains this. Therefore, my advice is okay. Okay, so produce. All right, so can you produce that document number 9? And so I can copy and paste the markdown file. I'm going to paste it over to um, Liaison first and just see what Liaison thinks about the document, and then ask Liaison if it thinks that it needs any editing or updates of any kind. All right, so we're just going to go back into our we got the 8 foundational documents, and then now we got the living document number 9. So we'll just do that for now. I don't know if that's the exact right answer, but it's an answer. And so this document specifies, okay, the living brief, key concepts, creator, layout, functionality. Okay. Okay, so I pasted your comments to architect, and architect has recommended that we create a new document rather than editing the previous document. Now, it's okay if you disagree with that and if you think that we should change the previous document. So I want you to look at the document that architect has made, which will be document number 9. And first, you need to decide whether 9 captures all of the concepts and ideas that we previously discussed. And if it does, then you can say that yes, it does. If it doesn't, then I want you to create a new version that we can share to architect and see if your new version is a significant enhancement from the work that he has done. And then after you have either created a new document or you have agreed that his document correctly captures all of the insights that we have created and made today, then you need to decide whether that is the best way to move forward or if we should just add some of that information into the previous documentation. Yeah, I know it seems kind of weird. Like I'm just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, all you have is your calibration documents. So it's really important after, for example, what we did today, where we've been talking for 2.5 hours. And in order to really capture, see, I think this is one of the major issues that comes when you're having meetings. And this is why people really enjoy meeting minutes and particularly AI meeting minutes, because these AI meeting minutes, they can capture everything that was discussed in a meeting, and then it's able to pull out the most important points. And then people are like, okay, so now what are we going to do with that information? Review of the proposed document. I've reviewed it, and my assessment is that this does an excellent job in accurately comprehending, capturing this, overarching this, concepts in this, refined vision for this. Uh-huh. I do not believe I need to create a new version of the significant enhancements. Part 2. I agree with the architect's AI recommendation, creating a new document. My reasoning is this. All right. So the last thing I wanted to say is just based off what we were just talking about. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to create this new document and put it in the set of calibration tools. And I just wanted to say, like, based on the objectives that we are now pursuing, I would like a list of tasks that need to be done. Now, while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to jump into Google Drive. Okay, so here, and what we could do here is we could just create a new doc. And then we're going to share it. I don't know why I have to continually do this. I have to like reauthorize like basically every single time, and sometimes more than once in a day. Hello, jumped into my arrowhead. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does that too. It just does weird stuff all the time. Notion's kind of weird. Okay, so we got our updated document. And let's just finish up. We're going to go back to our, where did it go? Oh, there it is. And now that this will be formally added to the calibration, 7 key objectives from project 1. Oof. I'm pretty tired now. So I would prefer if I can read it rather than having to read it myself. There we go.
Key Object 1. Conceptual Sprint 0. Vision Finalization and Feasibility Deep Dive. As outlined in link to AF platform _03 initial project breakdown and sprint 0 detailed plan.md v1.1
Man,
and
they're
further
good again.
refined by the insights in link to AF platform
wish I could fast forward.
09 sprint 0 detailed targets and key questions.md
All right.
v1.0.
All right, I'm ready.
Remember, Sprint 0 is primarily a phase for research, analysis, strategic planning, and documentation, though some tasks may involve creating small proofs of concept for feasibility assessment. List of tasks for Conceptual Sprint 0, Vision Finalization and Feasibility Deep Dive. Objective 1.1. Finalize and document the MVP vision statement. Task 1.1. 1. Liaison, AI, User PM, conclude the conceptual VOT-SBC brainstorm module. Focus. Fully explore the User PM's 3 key areas. Canadian Politics, Economics Learning Unit.
All right, I can't do that. Okay, let's facilitate the conceptual module, brainstorm outputs of the vision statement, conduct technical feasibility study, define the MVP scope for vibe coding, research and purpose of. Okay, I see. All right, so what should we be thinking about based on what we've talked about today and the updates for example, what are some topics that we might consider discussing tomorrow? Here's some key topics and activities we should prioritize. Deep dive, two pane contextual chat block. All right. Let's jump back into our. So we're going to be actually creating a new liaison tomorrow because it doesn't have the updated documents. I forgot, but I think didn't I create all the updates of the documents with you in this window pane? Yeah, here it is. So these are all the new documents. Here's document number 8. And we also updated those other documents. Yeah, okay, it's what. All right. So I'm going to create a new liaison tomorrow. Liaison is still using the old documentation. And since you have access to the updated documentation, we don't need a new architect right now. So I'm going to give you the latest details from liaison. And then tomorrow, when after I create a new liaison, then I'm going to prompt it with the prompt that you're going to create right now. So first, I'm going to give you the feedback from liaison. And then based on that feedback and also from the information in all of our previous documentation, I want you to create a prompt that I can give to liaison to kick off our brainstorming. Not brainstorming, because when I say brainstorming, I am referring to the brainstorming module, but I just mean in general to kick off our discussion tomorrow about what we should do and think about moving forward. All right. With that, we are now going to be able to shut down our current liaison. What I mean is this liaison here, it's the AFB liaison. We're going to, in fact, I'll just delete it right now. So it's like impossible to, there, we just lost access to liaison, which means we have to create a new one tomorrow, which is fine. Okay, understand your plan. And here's the prompt. Good morning, liaison. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. We are continuing with Project 1, Conceptual Sprint 0, Vision Finalization Feasibility Deep Dive for the platform. Our overall strategy is user PM centric, focusing on developing this, detailed in this. Yesterday we had a productive our goals for today. Deep dive, conclude. So we're actually going to do that. That's what it wants to do. Okay, I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. Okay, your task, guide me, PM, defining a specific concise excerpt of Agenda 47 material to be used. 3 key learning objectives. AI chat personas and its primary function, conceptual interaction flow, initial success criteria, draft an MVP. So it wants to actually draft a vision statement. There you go. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow with a brand new liaison. And maybe at some point we'll get back into the little project that I'm working on with my app. See you later. Bye bye.